flag at Chicagoland. Kyle Busch leads the first lap. Black flag, 96, pass-through penalty for removing weight.
I've never heard that before.
Wonder who tried that one time before and got busted.
And they'll never do it again.
Never do it again. Never do it again. And you know, NASCAR really follows that. They didn't used to. You could get by with little things like that, but as particular as they are, man. And this just adds insult to injury for this team.
You want to explain what the point of that is?
The point of that
Not
is
that you would ever do it again.
The point is so you never forget. Here he comes. And this will just put him a lap down right off the bat. So instead of penalizing him before the race starts, it just puts him behind the 8 ball from the beginning.
14th race led this season by Kyle Busch. That's the most of all drivers. And again, we will repeat, he did win the nationwide race here last night. Matt Kenseth in the 17 with the USG colors tonight. Denny Hamlin in the FedEx 11. Battle for second. Carl Edwards takes it from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jimmie Johnson in the 48, his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24.
Burton's dropping back a few positions.
Well, let's go back and look at this.
See Burton down on the bottom and Carl Edwards on top. Well, I don't think Burton even knew he was there. He was just driving up the racetrack like he was using his line and just ran right into it.
And still 3 or 4 laps into the race, that bottom line is still a fast line. I don't think he expected anybody to go to the high side of the racetrack.
And Jeff Burton's car was not very good here in practice.
Right side tires on it, knock the fenders out.
Michael McDowell found the wall already.
Tell you what, a lot of these guys early look like they're very loose. You can see these guys down on the bottom and all of a sudden slide up a lane. And that's because they're not getting any rear grip. And I've seen about 5 cars jump out of line already because they're loose.
Larry talked about it in his keys to the race. You know, rolling through the center of the corner. I think what these guys are fighting right now is just getting into the corner. They're so free getting in the corner, like Wally says. They're just going in and letting the cars go to the top side of the racetrack. And this is with 6 laps on a set of tires.
Cars on the move forward. A.J. Allmendinger, Martin Truex Jr., and Greg Biffle. Clint Boyer's lost about 9 spots. Reed Sorensen about 6. Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon.
This looks familiar. Remember when these two were running nose to tail and somehow the 24 got in the back of the 17? I don't know how that happened, but here we are early in the race, and it's the same thing.
If you ask the 2 drivers, you got 2 different versions.
2 totally different versions. Well, that's because one was looking out the back glass and one was looking out the front.
I think we can go back and take a look and see what happened to Michael McDowell. That 00 car.
Now there's a typical getting loose and hanging on, but unfortunately, Towel was on the high side.
And it's getting loose, getting in the corner.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting loose, getting into the corner. And then, you know, it's going to be a long day when these cars are driving that bad, appear to be this early, and he's already setting the toe.
And he ran over his air hose.
Yeah.
Leffler would have been in the wall if it wasn't for that 00 being there.
Earnhardt looking at the high groove. Kenseth started 9th. He's up to 5th.
Yeah, it's amazing how long they're off the throttle.
Yes.
I mean, it used to be you get off the throttle going into the corner here, and I mean a second or 2 and you're mad at it. You know, you're back in it, and these cars, just like the old cars back in the 70s.
Like the old cars.
Forever they're out of the throttle.
If you watched the nationwide race last night with some of their stuff, you could hear them, and they were on, off, on again. That's how much downforce. And that's just the difference in downforce and grip. You got to lay off and let the car settle into the corner.
Kenseth trying to get inside of Earnhardt.
Got him.
There's your race leader, Kyle Busch, by about 1.3 seconds. Early at Chicagoland in the LifeLock.com 400. TNT Sports live at the Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. 15 laps are complete. Kyle Busch is the race leader. Here's tonight's AT&T Race Talk poll question. Can't wait to see how the results come out on this. Will a Stewart Haas racing driver make the chase in 2009? Text the word race to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and vote, because we want to know what you think.
That's a good question, though.
That is a good question.
That's a good question.
Are you going to vote?
I'm voting in my head.
Yeah.
Yes?
It's staying there for
Okay,
now.
all right.
But I feel good about my vote.
Carl Edwards runs second behind Kyle Busch. 15 of the 18 races this season have been won from a top 10 starting spot, including the 3 previous races where qualifying was canceled. Check in with Marty Snyder.
Well, up front, Kyle Busch enjoying his customary position, Bill, right? Up there in the lead. He said his car turns much better than it did in practice yesterday. Their big concern was where they're headed to right now, turn 3. There's bumps all over the Chicagoland racetrack. Many of them talked about the ones in turn 1, but Kyle said the ones in turn 3 were worse for him yesterday. He told Steve Addington on the radio, guys, we made that part of the racetrack much better. Just a little tick tight in the center of the corner, keeping it out front and in the wind.
Kyle Busch has got to be the loneliest NASCAR driver ever. He's led so many laps, he never sees anybody in front of him for 2/3 of the race. He just runs on a clean racetrack.
And that's a good place to be.
That's a good place to be.
There's nothing wrong with being lonely.
Yeah, it's got to be lonely. He's the Maytag guy.
Ralph Shaheen.
Well, things are going just fine for the 99 of Carl Edwards. He's right where he wants to be. Car's pretty good, just a little free in, a little free off, and a touch tight in the center. But that's not really any different than most of the guys you talk to up and down pit road. He's very comfortable with the car, and he's just pacing himself right now.
Pacing himself because he can't catch Kyle.
Yeah.
But that's what you say when you can't catch anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just pacing myself, guys. Don't worry, he'll come to me.
It's like when you qualify bad and you say that it's like no big deal. You know, qualifying's not that important. When you qualify 90th, qualifying's not that important here. But you know what? The one thing, and we talked about this, and this racetrack is a complete circle. I mean, even the backstretch, it's not straight. You arc out towards the wall and then you come back in. And the corners are so great here. We've heard him talk about the COT a lot of times. Loose in, tight in the middle, loose off. Well, the corners are so big here. When it's free in, it's free for a long, long way. And when it's free off, it's free for a long, long way. So you want it to be a little snug, but you can't stand it to push for a long way either.
But like I said too, you can't be loose in. If you start off loose in, you're done. I mean, you've got to get an adjustment there. And we see these guys already. They're all over which is I like about this car is they're using all the racetrack. It used to be, everybody would be in one line on the bottom and nobody would pass. Right now we've got guys running all the different lanes, and what they're doing, they're just searching for any kind of grip they can find with these Goodyear tires. Earnhardt's a little bit, I don't think there's any grip that high yet.
And that was a good shot from Junior's car because you saw where the black was, and he went up into the gray above the black with his right side tires.
It looks like Denny Hamlin's car down the backstretch is off the pace. He's gotten back in line now, but he lost a number of positions.
Well, what we've been seeing, it was just like the 70 car. These guys are losing it big, and they got to catch their breath and regroup. And when you do that, 4 or 5 guys are going to pass you, at this stage of the race because everybody's lined up.
And one car that's really starting to move through the field is the 29 of Kevin Harvick. Harvick's in the 10th spot. Kyle Busch is up front. Started on the pole after they rained out qualifying. Kyle Busch, the race leader. Kyle Busch, the race leader. 27 laps are complete. NASCAR looking at a competition caution at lap 35 after the rain washed all the rubber off the track overnight. Fans, if you want to get even more TNT coverage, the Coke Zero in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you vote for and ride shotgun with the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Check out the Coke Zero in-car camera on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy. You can cast your vote now. I'd vote for that shot.
I like that shot.
This is Kevin Harvick.
See the driver's eyes. It's very, this is the only time you really get a clear visor on the driver is during a night race.
Matt, how about driver 29?
Bill, he's moved to the high side about 7 or 8 laps ago in both his spotter and then his crew chief Todd Berger told him you could see the improvement on the lap times as Harvick waves thanking as he passed by Biffle. The one complaint he has, apparently in final practice, he asked to have the steering wheel column adjusted, but he told the team he thinks that actually they went the wrong way. Instead of moving the wheel farther away from them, they moved it closer, so it's very hard for him to steer.
That's never good.
No, and especially when you're used to a steering column being in one place. When you move it, when somebody moves it on you, it makes you mad as a driver.
And you think about it every second of the lap.
Yeah,
I think eventually you get used to it, but at first it's very aggravating.
It's like when your radio is hung and it's squelching the whole time, and you just hear it's like somebody's on your radio. It just makes you mad, man. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it to you, but it just makes you mad lap after lap after lap.
That's Harvick getting 8th from Casey Kane. Started 13th, Kevin did. Next car in line would be Jeff Gordon, that 24. The Nicorette paint scheme this week. Lindsay, how about Casey Kane?
Casey Kane's feeling pretty good right now about his car. I know when I went in there this morning, they were a little bit nervous, not sure what to expect. He was 6th in final practice, and so Casey reporting some tight conditions, but right now he's not saying so much. Just feels good in that high line, Bill.
Thanks, Lindsay. Martin Truex Jr. in that one car. Marty, we talked a little bit about the 11 car. You got anything on that?
Yeah, a lot, and he's been quite active on the radio. He said inside the car, all the dials and gauges just went completely black. He said it's an ignition-related issue. He switched to box B, and it got no better. There's a miss in the engine. Tried to switch back to box A. It got no better again. So they have built a backup ignition box here, and they're going to try, if they need to, put it in the car under the stop. Obviously, they would love to avoid doing that. He has told Mike Ford, the crew chief, it's not getting any better. So if we're going to make this move, we need to do it early to try and make this car a little bit better. He lost 3 spots when that happened, Bill, so he's got a little bit of a miss in the engine. They're going to try and fix it on the stop if they can.
Back to 13.
Yeah, sometimes, and I think I understood Marty correct to say that the engines are, that the gauges went black and blank. And what happens is these gauges that you run at night races, we always run them at Bristol, didn't run them anywhere else, but they have a little light behind them that lets you really look at the gauges, to be able to see the gauges. And a lot of the gauges that we run, and you don't run them during the day. At daylight races, at Daytona, at Talladega, places like that, you don't run that light. So obviously he's got a miss or an electrical issue, whether it's ignition or whether it's amperage, whatever it is, and some of these gauges we run now are more electric than they have been in the past too. They're not the mechanical, tack driven. It's driven off the electrical system. So if he's having it this early in the race, it's only going to get worse. It doesn't fix itself.
I didn't know drivers looked at the gauges.
Sometimes we do. Well, when they ask us to look at the gauges, that's when we look at them.
Yeah, when they ask, you got to give them some kind of answer. And look, I can only keep numbers in my head for about 15 minutes, and then they go away. So I just, even when I write them down in my palm before the race, I forget them.
It's like you said, what do you want it to be? What should it be?
What should it be? Just tell me. What range? Just give me a range.
Oh, yeah, 220 on the water. Yeah, that's it.
That's perfect. Is it spitting something? Do you see something I don't see?
Caution on the speedway, a competition caution thrown by NASCAR. Again, heavy rain overnight, washing all the rubber off this track. So this will give the teams a chance to change tires, check tire wear. You could not add fuel before this competition caution. You've been playing with toys over there, Kyle. What'd you find?
No, this is just cool. This is what you see at a night race a lot of times with the 24 pit stop. Watch coming off the right tire as he leaves the pits. They drop the jack on the left side. He spins the tires. boom, sparks. That's where he hits a lug nut and throws that lug nut all the way down pit road. That lug nut just went about 300 yards the opposite direction.
Why don't you hear people getting hit by those things?
I do not know why.
Because it happens every race.
Every race, but that is so cool. That is so cool because you don't see that during a daylight race a lot of times.
Yeah.
You never see them, but it does. It happens on almost every pit stop. But that was cool just to see the sparks come out.
I got one in the ankle at Dover.
Oh, yeah.
One time, and man, you're down.
Oh, you're down.
Oh, God.
They're down. You know, those guys and the flagmen used to get hit with wheel weights and stuff like that. It's like getting shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a bullet, man. It's coming at you, and they would be bruises and puncture wounds. And it's like, my God, I'm not going up at the flag stand, man.
So right now, Greg Biffle is a lap down. Jeff Gordon is a lap down. Ryan Newman is a lap down.
And the problem with that is it's either got to cycle back through to get them on the lead lap and catch a caution, or a lot of lucky dogs are going to have to be given out for these guys.
Stewart leads by a little over a second. Truex is second. Then it's Edwards, Harvick, and Matt Kenseth, the top 5. On board with Tony.
Fuel weight smoke.
Yeah, this is where it can bite the guys like Vickers, who, 15, 20 laps ago, that was really a good move for him. But Vickers is back in 36 now, 1 lap down.
The one thing it does do when this happens, though, if they continue, is the lead that these guys have will be greater when they pit next time, right? Because they're going to be that much further ahead because they're running on good tires, running a half second faster, whatever it is.
Here's the payoff for the AT&T Race Talk poll question. 62% think a Stewart-Haas driver will make the chase in 2009. One of those drivers is going to be Tony Stewart. A lot of people believe the other one's going to be Ryan Newman. That's a lot of faith in Tony Stewart right there.
That's going to be a very, very tough order for Tony Stewart.
Marty, Dale Jr. coming.
Yeah, it's not been a fun run this time for Dale Earnhardt Jr. You guys mentioned took the 4 tires last time, was way back in traffic. Here's what they did on their last stop. Up one round on the wedge bolt, or track bar I should say. 2 spring rubbers in the right rear and a pound in the right rear tire. This time Jr. says he's still tight after that. A pound in the left rear. They also make a wedge adjustment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Still trying to get this car to react. He said it just doesn't react when he tries to turn it way too tight. Lindsay?
Well, Marty, Casey Kane currently in the 18th spot. We had told you that he felt like his car was pretty good, a little bit tight. So you see his team working. They're giving him gas, changing right side tires. They'll move around now to the left side. Casey Kane trying to keep that track position. Again, Marty, a little bit tight.
Man, those tire carriers just nail it when they put those things on.
Well, they just pitch
match
it up
the
in there,
holes
man.
up and just nail it.
And that's the tire carriers. The jackman and the guys that hang the tires are critical to the pit stop. We can talk these guys all they want to, but that's critical.
Marty.
No more reports from Jimmie Johnson on that rearview mirror, so I think it's fine for him. But the car, a little too tight for Johnson. So what they're going to do, they're going to make an air pressure adjustment. They're also going to go up 1 round of the track bar, trying to get that car to loosen up. And 4 tires for Jimmie Johnson, who did run in the top 10 for most of that run. Ralph?
The 99 is coming in. Carl Edwards pretty happy with the car. It's a little too free, but it's nice in the center of the corner. That's what he's really happy with. In fact, he's so happy with the car, he hasn't time to comment to the crew about how pretty the sunset was. They're going to make 2 rounds to the rear, and he's going to be underway. Marty.
Kyle Busch coming down pit road, hits his pit stall. He said in the middle of that run, I need to go learn something. This is the guy who won the Nationwide Series race last night. He said the car was way too loose to start, got tight the longer they ran. They make a wedge adjustment, also an air pressure adjustment for Kyle Busch, your championship leader. Matt?
2-time Chicago winner Tony Stewart is in. He said his car tighter on this run than it was the previous run. Already over to the left side, Ira Joe Hussey hitting the lugs, and he's away. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick is talking about his car. The biggest issue, his complaint, was the fact that the sun is dramatically the sunset in a certain part of the racetrack over by turn 4. That was his biggest complaint to his spotter, Billy O'Day. Up pit road to Lindsey Zarnian.
Well, Matt, Martin Truex Jr.'s team getting ready to hop down over pit wall. Martin had a great pit stop on the last one, saying his car's a little bit tight. They're going to give him a chassis adjustment, change 4 tires is what they called for, and they'll get Martin down and away.
All this occurring under the green, 105 laps complete. Kurt Busch in the 2 car, too fast entering pit road. That'll be a pass-through penalty. That'll be costly.
Penalties under green flags.
Oh,
You almost take yourself out of the race by a simple mistake like this.
Here's Jeff Burton, currently scored second in the championship standings. Remember, had contact on pit road earlier.
Kyle Busch in the 2 car.
Kurt
Busch, I'm sorry. Gets a lap back. Kyle Busch is not where he wants to be.
That's for the lead right there, the 17 and the 18. The cars in front of him at the tail end of the lead lap. Burton and Kurt Busch. That's first and second right there.
Matt hugged tough on the outside through 3 and 4 down there. And you get a run on the outside, especially with these new tires. Even though Kyle can come off the bottom that strong with these fresh tires, Matt gets a good strong run on the outside.
Yeah. Again, the 17 and the 18 did not stop under this caution.
With the 18's got to get just far enough through the center to be able to slide up in front of Kenseth, and he's not able to do that yet. But like you said, when the 17 car is getting such a good run off the top, and if he can keep the 18 pinned down low, that's going to help him. Oh, look at that. That looked loose. Dead even. This is where somebody's got to give. Somebody's got to make a mistake, or you just get tired of it. And I mean, you're just waiting for one little slip up so you can get that little bit of an advantage.
But you got to. These guys respect it. These guys are giving each other plenty of room. There's 3 foot between these guys. Going down the straightaway in the corner, he's not letting it slide up. Matt's not coming down on him. This is good racing right here.
Tony Stewart is third, right behind them. 2 tires on his stop. The 77 of Hornish is not a lead lap car. That's first and second, side by side for the lead.
That's letting Stewart and the rest of the guys catch up, because these guys are running side by side. Stewart has pulled up 10, 15 car lengths on these 2 in the last 2 or 3 laps.
Again, Jeff Burton in that 31 just in front of this pack, and Kurt Busch in front of him, tail end of the lead lap.
Now you got to decide, who am I going to go with? Who do I think is faster than if I get behind and I can, make the move on one of these cars? I would think he'd want to go to the high side, depending on how the car went. And Kenseth he just let off right there.
It's like Kenseth got tired of playing, because he could have just hammered it down in there for another 20 laps, it looked like, because as good as his car was driving, he felt like he could just stay there.
So Toyota Team H run first and second from Joe Gibbs Racing. And here's our Toyota driver update. A.J. Allmendinger, who did not pit under this most recent caution. There you see Vickers back in 6th. I'll tell you, there's a lot of cars coming off of 2 down the backstretch. This is for the lead. This is to put Burton 1 lap down.
And Jeff has been so consistent in that 31 car, but they have just not been on since they unloaded the other day here.
Burton now in position to be the lucky dog if the caution comes out.
Oh man! That thing jumped out on Stewart just there. You could see just that one jump. He lost 5 car lengths, and the 31's going to go by. He's got to catch his breath after that one.
That's half this little short shoot down the straightaway. I mean, that's one little bobble, and you lose that much, and that shows you how much of a momentum track this is. By being round like it is, you just got to keep that momentum up.
Ralph?
Well, they think they've got a flat rear tire on the 17. They can't tell which side of the car it's on yet, but Matt's been on the radio. Don't know if that's one of the reasons why he bailed out of the throttle as fast as he did while he was battling up at the front of the field with Busch and Stewart, but now he's making his way down to pit lane. The crew is up on the wall, and they're going to change all 4 tires and get him back out here as quick as they can.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, man. It almost looks like a left rear, but it was hard to tell. And look.
and they don't have to be completely flat. You know, we sit there and say, well, it looks like all the tires have air in it. These tires, if they drop 3 or 4 pounds, it affects the way these cars drive.
Fighting for the lead just a few laps ago. Now he will be deep in the field. So leaders charge by while Matt drives off a pit road. Was 8th in the championship standings when he hit pit road. And even before he gets back in the race, he's 13th out of the chase. Guess what? Kyle Busch is the race leader at Chicago. Kyle Busch has led 53 of the 130 laps as we close in on halfway here in the LifeLock.com 400 at Chicagoland. Bill Weber along with Wally Dellenbach and Kyle Petty and our entire TNT race family. Time to take you through the field. We start with the race leader, and that means Marty Snyder gets the talk.
132 laps in, Bill, and this man has led the most laps so far this evening. Kyle Busch has kept it out front. There you see leading 54 of the 131 laps so far. He said the car the last time, a little too loose to start and tight at the end of the run. They have 6 wins so far this year, but he sees room for improvement. Better coming through the field and better on flat tracks is where he wants to improve, Matt.
Tony Stewart, a 2-time Chicagoland winner. He's led 11 laps here tonight. He's faded back a little bit from his teammate, the 18 of Kyle Busch. Stewart says the car is not bad, still a little too tight. He does run about a lane off from the bottom, a little wiggle there as his car is a little free on exit, Ralph.
A lot of edginess around the 6th crew this afternoon. They feel like they're really close to being a dominant car, and they are so close that they're frustrated they can't push it over the edge. Well, they're getting there close tonight because the car is really starting to come to him. David Reagan running in 3rd. Pretty happy with the way the car's performing right now, Lindsay.
Well, Ralph, guess who else is happy? It would be A.J. Allmendinger. His first time running at Chicago. Right now he's in 4th place. Says the car was a bit tight earlier in the first 100 laps, but it's become loose in a good way, he says. Feels like the car is starting to come to him. Hey, and behind AJ is Toyota teammate Brian Vickers. He feels pretty good about his car as well. He has never in his 3 times here finished outside the top 15. He's using that experience from last night's nationwide race in which he finished 4th to help him tonight. Ralph?
Carl Edwards is getting ready to take a big bike ride this coming week as he's going to go run the nationwide race in Gateway. He's going to ride from his home in Columbia, Missouri over to Gateway. Should take about 3 days, but right now this car, his setup here is pretty good. It's a little loose, and he's planning that on the racetrack, tightening up for him.
Kevin Harvick, Ralph, on the bottom trying to close in on the 99 of Edwards. Harvick really hasn't said a whole lot about his car. That means his car's running well. The only complaint, as you see, is he goes off into turn 3. Earlier, the sunset was really bothering his eyes. Ralph?
For Mark Martin, he doesn't normally like to run high up the racetrack, but in talking to crew chief Tony Gibson, they feel like their setup that they've got right now is allowing him to run on the very bottom and in the middle of the racetrack, which Tony Gibson will tell you the mini Marty is pretty high for Mark Martin.
Well, Ralph, this part of the run is where Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knauf hope those 4 tires pay off. He restarted 17th currently. He's up to the 9th position. Said the car is tight in the center, a little loose on exit, but Jimmie said it's much better this run than it was last time, Matt.
Greg Biffle, Marty, took 4 tires in the last stop, a little different than a lot of the other leaders, but admired him back in traffic, and he said, we're just back here, we cannot do anything. If that tells you what we need to do for our next round of pit stops, 4 tires just doesn't do anything unless you're out front, Larry Mack.
Well, let's go back and let's talk about the woes of the 11 car, Denny Hamlin. He had the ignition box problems earlier, and what they had to do, if you notice, you have both of your ignition boxes up here on the dash. Well, he swapped from one to the other, and that still did not solve the problem. So what they did, they actually came in and changed one of these ignition boxes. Now he's running 42nd, 4 laps down. But you know what? This is our final race of our TNT Summer Series, and when you have a final race, you have to have a grand finale. Now, over the last 6 weeks, I've been working hard on my test car, but I've been working on a lot of other things too. I'm gonna reach in my magic box. No, we're not gonna pull a rat out of a hat. That's child's play. We're gonna get a little more serious here tonight, here at Chicagoland, with the help of my beautiful assistant, Mark, fine. Mark, you doing okay down there?
You didn't tell me there was a saw.
Okay, and as you notice, he's got his beautiful shoes here.
We're going
to attempt something that has never been done on a TNT NASCAR race before. In fact, I've never attempted it. But you know what? I don't really think I knew this. Okay, buddy, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right, if you notice, we have this solid plank here. We're going to put it down in here like this. Okay, hang on, buddy. What'd you eat last night? Okay, there's one.
Yeah,
now, if you notice, we have another one here. We have another plank here. We're going to put it down in here. All right, buddy, just hang on. We're just about there. Give us just a second.
Go ahead, do it quick. Make it quick.
Hang on. Okay.
Wow.
Are you okay, buddy?
Yeah,
there you see it.
Yeah, thanks.
The beautiful shoes.
Okay.
There you see it, buddy. You're okay.
Can you put me back together now?
As you can tell, Bill, I'm batting 1,000 now. Who's next?
Can I have my legs back?
We've created a monster.
You know why nobody? You know why that's never been seen on a TNT race? Because nobody in the booth cares, Larry. Nobody cares.
I wonder if he can get them back together. Mark can now do 2 assignments on the same weekend.
Mark, we'll see half of you next year, buddy.
So Kyle Busch pulls Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Brian Vickers, David Reagan, Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin, AJ Allmendinger, and Jeff Gordon. Here we go.
Oh, man.
Please grip, please grip.
Yep, and that wasn't. 26 slid up the racetrack. Did a good job hanging on to that thing, but he used all 3 lanes.
And that's
saving it.
And that's Matt Kenseth, who now is the lucky dog in position for the lucky dog 1 lap down.
This is a mess right here.
Matt's a car that has run good enough this evening to not worry about the lucky dog. He can almost make his lap up on his own because he's been a top 4 or 5 car most of the night.
Hey, Ralph, you down there?
Oh, yeah.
What'd they find on that 17?
Well, they've just been working on the 17 a lot. They took 2 tires of fuel on this last stop. And they had a punctured right rear tire, as that's what knocked them out when they had to come down for that time.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. So that's why Matt is off the lead lap, but he was battling for the lead before he had that punctured tire. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car, 4 laps down. Larry talked about the ignition box problem they had. And this is a lot of cars and not a lot of room. Oh, Juan bobbles right there in the 42.
Oh, look at Busch in the 2 car gets sideways underneath Montoya.
That's 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
Yeah, these guys are racing as hard for these spots right here as guys up front.
They're 3 wide coming out of turn 2. When we first came here, this was a single groove racetrack. After having 7 or 8 winners on this racetrack, it's gotten bumpier, but it's made the racing a lot better because you've been able to go from the top to the bottom. We saw Earnhardt Jr. start at the top, and then on restarts when everybody's on pretty good tires, and they've made their adjustments. Remember, this is not like the start of the race. Everybody's made their adjustments. Now they can race 2 and 3 wide.
Junior's back there in the 21st position, and he's been back there since a 4-tire stop early in the race. Has not been able to race his way out of this mess back here.
Yeah, they got to figure out how they can get some track position.
How about it, Marty?
Well, Bill, I think the biggest problem for Dale Earnhardt Jr. is they just have not been able to get this car to loosen up. He said the car feels like it's almost lifting off the left front, like they got the wrong right front spring in, according to Dale Earnhardt Jr., and they have not been able to get this tight condition out all evening long. They've tried everything. They've tried spring rubbers, wedge, track bar, air pressure on the last stop, and nothing has worked as Kurt Busch tries to go around him.
Unsuccessful so far.
Yeah, but we talked about this earlier. You know, these guys got a terrible practice session yesterday afternoon. The racetrack was junk. It was bad.
That was at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and a lot of guys just set it out. It really didn't do much practice. Then when they did get a practice, then that was as close to race time as we were going to have. Then it rained all night, so the racetrack changed again. So everything that Junior and those guys have set up for has been on the bottom of the racetrack. Then your driver, Junior, moves to the top of the racetrack. They hadn't been up there all weekend long, and then you complain about how the car drives. But we all do that as a driver because we're looking for the best place to go.
They teach you that at driver school, don't they?
To complain? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Chapter 1. Chapter 1.
I thought that came natural.
Yes, it does.
Only for some of you, Wally. I talked to some of the guys from the 31 team at the hotel last night, and they said they would have been much better off practicing at 8 in the morning.
Yes.
Than they would have been at 5 in the afternoon.
And you say, well, how do you figure that? And it's all about track temperature. You don't really care where the sun was. It was all about track temperature for them. That racetrack had sat all day long in the sun. It had baked. It was slick. It was just, they couldn't get anything hooked up to it.
Hey, Ralph, you watching Carl?
Yeah, that's Carl Edwards just saying that he's too loose all the way around. And one of the things he was also talking about on the radio is, hey, who am I racing here? Because everybody's racing so hard, as you were talking about. Guys like Matt Kenseth, he's not sure who's on the lead lap, who's not on the lead lap, and who do I need to worry about?
Matt Kenseth is racing Jamie McMurray right now unless he can get around Kyle Busch. There's Carl Edwards. He's in 4th. He's got Johnson behind him and Vickers.
Anytime I ever ask who am I racing, they would just say, everybody will sort it out when the race is over with.
Well, Kyle Busch is trying to pull off the Chicagoland sweep. Won the nationwide race here last night, and he's shining under the lights tonight. Here we go. 85 laps to go.
You know, McMurray's got a pretty good car, too. I mean, he's been sitting there trying to get that lap back, but he's been hanging there.
You know, it's just like, it amazes me every week sitting up here with you guys. That, and just like Carl said a minute ago, who am I racing? These guys are racing so hard, who am I racing? It's like the top 5 or 6 guys get spread out, but from there back to about 24th or 25th, these guys run like it's the last lap at Daytona last week.
It's David Reagan in the 6th, Jimmie Johnson in that 48. Vickers inside of Jimmie Johnson. Marty?
Bill, last run for Jimmie Johnson. He was very polite about it, but he had an extremely loose race car on power down. He said, Chad, I'm not sure what we did to our race car, but can I please have my car back? So what he did was he went down on the track bar. The car was extremely loose. First time all night long for Jimmie Johnson. He had that handling issue, and looks like it's still a little bit loose as he washes up the racetrack, right, guys?
Definitely, Marty. He's using about an extra lane for that race car right now because it's sliding so much.
And a lot of times you saw him, he had to go in to the inside, so he had to pinch the corner right there and make a tighter corner. When the car is loose, it really gets double loose. That's why you see these guys hang out to the wall and fade the car in the corner. It doesn't make the car as free getting in the corner if you give it more room.
Lowe's is donating $48 for every lap Jimmie completes here and at the Brickyard to try and help out. It's Racing for Relief to help out the families and the people here in the Midwest that have been affected by the floods and the tornadoes. And if he wins, it's an extra $4,800. And Lowe's stores in the Midwest are helping out. You can go make a donation there, or you can go to redcross.org if you'd like to contribute online. So again, thanks to the folks at Lowe's for helping out with that. Kevin Harvick. Matt.
Bill having a very solid run. He hasn't won, though, in 52 races. Like to add another Chicago trophy to his trophy case. His biggest complaint tonight, besides the car being slightly loose, look inside the cockpit. See how close the wheel is. We told you earlier that he wanted the steering wheel adjusted. They went the wrong way. It's too close. He says now his forearms keep grabbing on his fire suit as he starts to turn. Wally and KP, how much of a distraction and how much does it take away from your concentration and technique when you have some issue like that?
Well, it is, Matt, because when you're sitting in these cars and you get fitted to these cars, or you try to get everything perfect. Everything has to be perfect. You don't want your uniform snagging on anything, you're just talking a little bit, Kyle. I mean, something can be a little bit off, and every time you turn that steering wheel, you think about it. And if you got to think about that, you're not thinking about what you should be thinking about.
And you just saw it. You just saw that thing take off, and he had to snatch left, right, left, real quick. All right, that's okay if you're in the Kmart parking lot. But at 160 miles an hour out here, and your uniform's catching on something, or you're dragging your forearms across it, and you're not feeling the car in the palm of your hands. And you know it, Wally, you feel the car. And when I say feel the car, you feel it in your hands, you feel it in your rear end, you feel it in your back, you feel it in the seat, and you drive with your whole body, not just with your hands and your feet. You drive with your whole body. And if you're put in a position where you don't feel the car the way you want to feel it, it's incredibly distracting and hard to hang on.
Speaking of
center off.
feeling your race car, Kyle Busch, lap or so ago.
Don't tell me he's going to get loose.
Just barely ran out of room.
Safe. He does that all the time.
All the time.
Just to keep himself interested. Leads by 1.4 seconds over Tony Stewart.
Tell you what, that car looks like it is loose. All the time.
And
it's like 5 times through the corners.
And he says, I need it freed up. Free me up a little.
Yeah.
Carl Edwards to second around Tony Stewart.
And that's impressive. That's impressive for Carl, because Tony has been on the money, spot on here for the last little bit.
But he seems to be better later in the run.
Later in the run. For whatever reason, it's like once you get past 15 or 20 laps, he seems to. Carl got mired back in traffic a little bit, but now he's broken free from those guys.
And here comes that 17 car.
Yeah. Matt was in 30th on the restart. He's up to 21st right now.
Gained 9 positions.
21st spot. Yeah, 21st position.
And you don't think that's too impressive, but when you go back and you remember Junior at the first part of the race running in the top 5 and getting hung back there and could make no progress.
Well, you said it earlier. Matt's car is good enough to run up front, and he's making his way through traffic. So, and if the car's that good at traffic, if he does get up front where it spreads out a little bit, he may be tough.
And you restart back there, you're racing through 2 lines of traffic coming through.
Yeah, and they're not just getting out of his way back here. It's not like when Kyle catches lap traffic. When the leaders catch lap traffic and they get that yellow and blue flag, they get out of the way. So it's easy if you're leading a racer in the top 2 or 3 because the lap cars get out of your way. But these guys are not giving Matt any respect at all. He's just like them. He's got to work his way back to the front.
Kyle Busch continues to lead. Matt Kenseth on the march. See how it plays out. 73 laps to go at Chicago. .199 laps are complete. 200 next time by. Kyle Busch has led 122 of them and leads by 0.7 of a second over Carl Edwards. Time to go through the field. Here's Coach Snyder.
And Coach Weber, Kyle Busch has it on cruise control out front. Little Saturday night drive here in Chicago. They tested Kentucky earlier this week and learned how to make this car a little bit better. And I think that's showing here tonight. He's on the last 79 laps. They had one set of tires that did not agree with the car. Other than that, they've been outstanding, Ralph.
Loose in, loose off. That's the words from Carl Edwards. They made a wedge and air pressure adjustment on the last stop. Made it a little bit better earlier on in the run, so they're going to do more of the same on this very next stop coming up, Matt.
Ralph, Kevin Harvick, 4 top 10s in the first 5 races. Then they kind of lost a little bit the momentum they had trying to gain that back tonight. Currently runs 3rd. He's led 0 laps, but he's trying to work his way to the front. The car is still a 2 free on exit. Meanwhile, Tony Stewart in 4th. He's 3 seconds back of the leader, his teammate, Kyle Busch. This is conversation moments ago between he and his team.
Nelson's too loose, bud. Oh, we put it right back where we started right there. We'll just go a bunch more next time. Hang in there. No worries. It'll come to us here. We're just going to give it some laps there. I'm just going to run as fast as he's running right now. Right, 219. We still got a long way to go. Just hang in there. Keep it in your sight. We'll be fine.
Stewart currently runs in the 4th position, chasing his 3rd Chicago win. Marty?
Matt, I think Jimmie Johnson has his race car back. Very happy in there. In fact, you just told Jack Canals on the last lap, a little bit loose now, but we cut our problem in half. Jack Canals responded by saying, you're a tenth faster than the leaders are right now. Keep it coming. The car getting much better for Johnson the later we go into the evening, Ralph.
Total silence on the radio for David Reagan. That's the way it's been the majority of the night in between stops. As there's a change for the lead, there's air pressure adjustments, and that's it. Going on with the 6. Bill?
Thanks, Ralph. Carl Edwards takes the lead from Kyle Busch.
Kyle's not used to seeing that.
No, and that's impressive. And I mean, we heard during that pit whip where, you know, the 99 says my car's a little bit free. We hear the 18 say my car's free. Loosen the car up. And when you look at it, these guys are driving away from everybody.
Jimmie Johnson runs 5th, David Reagan 6th, Brian Vickers 7th, Lindsay.
And Brian Vickers has a couple ideas of what he'd like to change for his car. Said it's not where it's like to be. It's too loose getting off the throttle. He says it's good in 1 and 2. He's getting killed going through 3 and 4. Talking about making an air pressure adjustment in the right rear on the next stop, Matt.
Jeff Gordon led 6 laps earlier tonight, but currently runs in the 8th position. Gordon's car, they just cannot get the balance exactly that he's liking. The car's a little free on entry and tight through the center. The last time in, they made both a track bar and air pressure adjustment. He's just back there. He cannot get that clean air that he needs. Lindsay?
Well, Matt, A.J. Allmendinger had been saying that his car was a bit loose, but right now, no complaints whatsoever. Very, very happy with the car. He's been radio silent since they last pitted.
Lindsay, let's give a call to Elliott Sadler right behind A.J. Allmendinger in that Best Buy car. He's in 10th position right now. They started 26th tonight. He said the car is better than it's been all evening long. We should get him a little bit of racing luck, right, Larry Mack? They've run well, run in the top 10. They just need to finish one of these races.
Yeah, Marty, I keep following this 17 car, Matt Kenseth. Remember, just a little over 20 laps ago, he restarted back in 30th, as Kyle and Wally and Bill were talking about. Looks like he's got a top 5 car. He just cracked the top 15, but he may need the help of a couple of cautions to get him back up there. The guy running right behind him, though, Kurt Busch in the 2 car, battling Clint Boyer in the 07. Remember, after winning at Loudon 2 weeks ago, Kurt Busch and that group, they followed it up with a top 5 finish last week at Daytona. They got the penalty earlier in the race. Now they've worked their way back up to the top 15. But what's going to be interesting here is all these guys that are looking for more adjustments on their car, they're probably only going to get one more opportunity somewhere around lap 230 to 235, because we are now down to a one-stop race.
Little loose. These guys are they're all loose. It looked to me. I mean, they are just wheeling these race cars right now. And Larry's right. Kenseth is about 15 seconds back now behind Carl Edwards. So a caution would really help for him.
Carl Edwards is the race leader.
Just now start.
Fans, get ready for NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile from Sprint, only on the Now Network. A lot of talk about the restarts after last week at Daytona as well.
Yeah, you know, restarts are different on a track like this than they are at a Daytona or a Talladega. And you know, the leader has the right, and that's the way it is. And, you know, until they come up with a better rule than that, that's just the system we work under. He was slow. He was slow down there.
But these cars, yes, absolutely. But these cars accelerate a little bit better than they do on a super speedway, too.
Great point. When you mash the accelerator, it sets you back in the seat. It's like being at your local go-kart track when you mash the accelerator on a restrictor plate. You start bouncing in the seat trying to get the thing to move forward.
Jimmie Johnson has not led a lap tonight.
He's got position right there.
Trying to
force your horsepower. Come on, horsepower. You're going to lead this lap.
That's impressive right there.
Maybe not. No, Kyle Busch just edged him out across the line. But now Kyle's running where he doesn't want to be running.
Clear. Awesome.
That's up on the high side.
Now Jimmie's cleared him, and Jimmie's got the clean racetrack now and the clean air. And we've seen this happen to Kyle a couple of times tonight, that on a couple of restarts when somebody would get around him, the 99 car, Tony, whoever it may be, would put some distance on him.
16 to go.
5 bonus points for Jimmie Johnson. Kevin Harvick runs third in Pennzoil Chevy.
And Kyle needs to be watching his mirror because that 29 car is coming.
6th and 7th spot there, Vickers and Tony Stewart.
Jimmie Johnson is the race leader. Last green flag commercial break right here. Then back to the checkers on TNT. Watch the restart. 2 to go when they get to the line. Kyle Busch right on Johnson's bumper.
I would say in Johnson's bumper.
That's a great shot right there, man, on a restart.
Johnson low, Busch in the high ground.
Oh, man, I told you somebody was going to drive in deep. The 18 did it.
And the 18 who's not been to the high side all night long, it seems like goes to the outside.
Now the 48's got to drive in deep. This is where there may be some contact right here.
Look at him wash up the racetrack. Hang on. And 29's lurking right there behind him.
White flag in the air, last lap.
That was good stuff.
That was a great race right there. You think Kyle Busch doesn't want to win races?
No kidding.
Here comes Harvick.
He wanted that thing.
Keep digging.
Here comes Jimmie Johnson back on the outside.
Oh, he'll drive it in deep going into 3. He's got one more shot.
Jimmie got that run down the backstretch.
Here it comes. Oh, and he did drive it in deep, but he got no place to go with it.
But he gets in, and you see the car skate up the racetrack. That's a 10 point switch.
Oh, man, that 48's loose.
Off the turn 4. Kyle Busch sweeps at Chicagoland, his 7th win of the season.
And that was all Kyle Busch right there. Okay, we can talk cars, we can talk anything you want to, but that was all driver right there. That was incredible.
You just heard it. Unbelievable.
All year, buddy. All year.
He has the head of a racer and the heart of a racer.
Yeah. Saved or not over till they're overdue. They've got to take opportunities like that and turn them into championships. You just took advantage of a great opportunity right there, man.
LifeLock is proud to congratulate Kyle Busch for locking up victory tonight in the LifeLock.com 400. The LifeLock.com 400 from Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet is brought to you by Aflac. Ask about it at work. By Vitamin Water. It works for Carl Edwards. Try it. By Subway Restaurants. Subway. Eat fresh. And by Sprint, proud sponsor of the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. Last weekend's sweep was at California in February of 2007 by Matt Kenseth. Until tonight, Kyle Busch pulls the sweep at Chicagoland. Some bows to the crowd, and then off to victory lane. Go down to Marty Snyder, who's standing by in victory lane with the race winner, Kyle Busch.
And Kyle Busch unstraps himself from the M&M's car, and what an impressive performance on those last 2 laps, and what a run on that green-white checkered. Win number 7, that's how you celebrate right there. This crew's a little used to this of late. High fives for the entire crew who helped push him out of the mud, I might add. That was their important role there at the end of the race. KB, is that the hardest you've driven for 2 laps in your entire life?
I got to thank these guys. You know, I gave up.
They didn't get down on you. You gave up, didn't you?
I did. I gave up on myself. You know, just didn't think I can do that. I've watched Jimmie Johnson do that a few times, and I don't know how I did that, but this M&M's Toyota team was just phenomenal tonight, and great pit stops all night. Every single time we came down pit road, we had fast pit stops. So, got to thank the fans that are here, Interstate Batteries, Norm Miller, and M&M Stickers combos. Everybody that makes this so fun, the Sprint, everybody at Sprint people, and this is a dream season, man. I just cannot believe this. This is just, can you believe this?
I can't believe it, Kyle. But people are going to walk away from this saying, how did you do that on that last restart?
I don't know. Jimmie was going to bring us down slow. And I remember this from short track days when you watch somebody in your mirror and you creep up on them and then you stop and then they'll go on you.
Yeah.
Well, I just went. I pushed Jimmie Johnson to go, so I was just like, let's go, man, here we go. And that was the saving grace right there. Was a good start, a restart. And then I just had to go to the outside because he was going to block the bottom and turn 1 and 2, and it stuck for me out there. I don't know how, why, or whatever, but Steve Addington and these boys, they deserve this one here, you know. Just a great car up front all night. You know, we got back in traffic and complained about it a lot, and we got back out front. It felt good again, and then I knew when Jimmie got us there that clean air was going to be it, but luckily we had that caution. We got back by him.
You can't believe it, and I'm not going to pinch him to wake him up. Kyle Busch, his 7th win of the year. Lindsay.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.